Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 10. We're talking about Katina and Olajuwon. This video is for Katina and Olajuwon only. If you want to see my other videos for the other couples, throughout this video, there'll be a little blurb at the top of the video where you can click on it and you can move on to another video. Or if you watch the whole video, and I hope you do, at the end of this video, you can click right on the picture to the next video and watch my other videos. But we are talking about Katina and Olajuwon. And this week, Dr. Viv came and visited with everybody. And you know, in the spirit of Dr. Viviana of trying to help these couples, you know what, this week, I'm gonna really try to help these couples. I'm not gonna try to roast them too much like I normally do. I might not be able to contain myself, but I'm gonna try. And you know what, I'm really gonna try to help these young couples, because I'm not no doctor like Dr. Viviana with no fancy degree in psychology or whatever case may be. But I am older and I am from California, and I've seen a lot of foolishness in my day. So I think I know how to read a lot of people, and I know how to call out some bullshit when I see it. So first of all, kudos to Dr. Viv with Katina and Olajuwon for finally getting to the bottom of some of this craziness with Olajuwon and this whole cooking and cleaning thing, because we knew it wasn't about no cooking and cleaning. Just like when Noe and Steve had that episode over the noodles, I told you in that video it wasn't about no noodles. I've been married for a long time, and I'm telling you, half the arguments people have in marriage conversations, the arguments are not about what you arguing about. The argument is about something else, and you got to get good at figuring out the something else. Otherwise, you're going to be arguing over stupid shit like noodles and cooking and cleaning. First of all, I already know that Olajuwon is in love with Katina, because if you ain't in love with a woman, you don't care this much. If you weren't in love with Katina, then you know what? When that floor was dirty, your ass would have went right to bed and you would have left it there for her to do it on her own. You know what? If you weren't in love with Katina, you would have gone and got that chicken. You was complaining, but you still went and got it. Let me tell you, when a man don't love you, he wouldn't have got that chicken and he wouldn't have mopped that damn floor. He would have been laying in the bed right next to Katina when he said Katina was laying his head on that pillow. So now that we established that Olajuwon actually loves Katina, we got to figure out, why would someone who loves a person treat him the way he's treating her? That's what we really need to talk about. That's the kind of help where we can really give Olajuwon some help. Well, what did we learn this episode? What we learned that Katina is definitely a people pleaser. She likes to hear what people say. She is interested in hearing other people's opinions. She was very excited, as she said, to have Dr. Viviana come to the house, because she was excited about hearing what Dr. Viviana's opinion was of her situation going on with Olajuwon. If you remember, Katina was very interested in hearing Jelani's opinion about what Jelani thought, and Olajuwon didn't like that. And she's also very interested in pleasing Olajuwon. So Katina's thing with pleasing people is not a bad thing necessarily. It could be bad, but it's not a bad thing. That means she really does want to get along. She likes to get along with people. And some people may bash her over that, but if she orchestrates it right and has the right balance between it, it really makes her a nice person. So when Dr. Viv comes over, you know, she gives Katina this really big hug. You could tell she felt sorry for Katina. And she sat down and started digging right into Olajuwon, talking about, why every time I watch you on TV, you talking about cooking and cleaning? What the hell is going on, Olajuwon? She said, you didn't eat before you had a wife? What you do before you had a wife? You didn't know how to cook? What was you doing? And he was like, well, I used to grab something on the go and just fix a little something. But now that I have a wife, I want her to do all of it. He keeps bringing up that Katina works from home. I wish he stopped saying that, because I don't think Katina works from home in terms of she's a stay-at-home wife. She just became a wife 3 weeks ago, so how is she a stay-at-home wife? He's talking about because of COVID, she works from home. That ain't the same thing, Olajuwon. So what you saying, if we just brought you a little stove up to your job, you could do your job and cook at the same time? You dismissing that Katina has a regular full-time job. Now in the after party, which I'll do a video on that, you know, Olajuwon gave a little bit more context. He actually said that what he does is he works overnight. So he says when he comes home in the morning after working overnight, he doesn't like the fact that the house looks the same in terms of being junky and there ain't no food waiting for him after he gets home and he's hungry. I do understand that part. That is something that Katina needs to work on. And she does need to be a little bit more thoughtful that if you have a husband that works overnight and when he comes home, because it's the end of his shift, he is a little hungry. So you have had plenty of time to have had something at least on the stove that he can pop in the microwave and eat. Katina, you do need to step up as a wife and do that part. I really do believe that. Elijah says that he don't mind taking care of the household. I guess he's saying he don't mind making Katina a housewife. And he says as long as he can be happy, as long as she can fulfill the duties at home, and he can make all the money. Whether people like it or not, the way that Olajuwon talks, he's an alpha male. And let me tell you something, alpha males have good sides about them and they have bad sides about them. And what people are struggling with Olajuwon right now are the negatives that come with being with an alpha male. This rigidness, this dictatorship, these blunt opinions and harsh words, a lot of times, not all the times, that accompanies alpha males. And that's what we're seeing here with Olajuwon. So Katina starts crying, talking about she feels like as if she doesn't hit the mark with Olajuwon, that, he's going to want to leave the marriage. He starts talking about that Katina is laziness. There's a laziness to Katina. And this is when I had to sit up in my seat. I'm like, lazy, good Lord. Why are you calling the girl lazy? These words that Olajuwon uses are horrible. He needs to get a thesaurus so he can come up with different words, because lazy is not a word you should use with anyone that you love. And I already know that Olajuwon loves Katina. So he needs to get lazy out his dictionary. But you know what he said? He said, well, she's lazy in love. She's lazy in this relationship. And you know what? I finally keyed in, and I believe Dr. Viviana started to clue in on it too. We're talking about two people with two different love languages. Olajuwon's love language is acts of service, period and point blank. And one of Katina's love languages are words of affirmation. And let me tell you, when Olajuwon is calling Katina lazy and the relationship, what he's saying is she doesn't do enough acts of service in order for him to feel like he is loved. And so what he's concentrating on are the things she does, cooking and cleaning, because those are acts of service. And what he's saying is if you cook, that means you love me. If you clean, that means you love me. It's not really about a dictatorship. So what this tells me is he is dying to feel love from Katina. And although she may think that she's making him feel love, what he's telling her is you're not loving me in my love language, and it is acts of service. But here's the problem where that's a problem mostly with Katina, because Katina's love language are words of affirmation. So every time he hits her with trying to bash her for not hitting his love language, which is acts of service, it really pummels and triggers her on her love language, which are words of affirmation. And what she said is this is one of her insecurities, because you know what? She needs that love language. And another one of her insecurities is she knows she can't cook. And every woman out here in the world has always heard the saying that the key to a man's heart is through his stomach. And what Katina knows is she can't cook. And unfortunately, no one ever taught Katina to cook. And so she's uncomfortable in the kitchen. She doesn't have confidence in the kitchen. It doesn't mean she can't learn, because everybody was a Katina at one time. Everybody didn't know how to cook or didn't have a recipe book. All Katina has to do is learn how to cook a few recipes. She'll gain a little bit more confidence in the kitchen, and then they will be fine. And Olajuwon has to understand that her love language are words of affirmation. So when he goes on the attack and starts calling her things like lazy, he's really putting her 2 feet under the ground, just like he feels when she doesn't give him acts of service, which tells him that she loves him. She's trying to tell Olajuwon that although this may be your truth, Olajuwon, your words hurt. They're too harsh. They are crushing her. And Dr. Viviana tells him, listen, you're going to be divorced. If you keep up this cooking and cleaning thing, you're going to be divorced. And so Olajuwon talks about how he cares for Katina, and he starts crying. No, just come out and say it. You love Katina. It ain't you care for Katina. You love Katina. That's what it's about. And he also talks about how Katina holds her feelings close to the chest. You know why? Because she's been hurt before by men, and she's been hurt by you. And so every time you pummel her, she doesn't actually want to open up to you. She doesn't want to open up. And so the more she closes down, the less you feel loved, Olajuwon. Olajuwon is scared. He is scared because Katina doesn't show the type of emotion that he shows. And he takes that physical emotion, that physical acts, that's what he looks for as a sign that she loves him. And because she doesn't show that enough, he doesn't feel loved and he's scared. And because he's scared, he's like a scared dog out here on the street. You're trying to help him. You're trying to love on him, but it's like a dog that got hit on the side of the road. You go and touch him because you want to pick him up and love on him. But then that little dog bites you. And that's what Olajuwon does. He bites Katina. He starts talking about it's frustrating that Katina doesn't open up and feel vulnerable to her. That's what I was telling you last week. When he was going into Katina and he was going so hard, he wanted to break Katina. He wanted her to cry. You know why? Because he wanted to see some emotion for Katina, because that's what he needs to feel loved. Now, he went about it the wrong way. But if you really want to help Olajuwon, you got to ask yourself the questions why. You just can't sit and hit somebody over the head for their behavior. You got to ask questions if you really want to help them get to the next level. But Dr. Viviana, she clued in on it. The minute he said he was frustrated, Dr. Viviana said, "No, you scared." She called it what it was. It was fear. When Katina saw that, what it really was, she felt so much better. When she realized it was fear and it wasn't anger, Katina was able to say, you know what? I could work with this. Because it's a lot easier dealing with a person when you know they're scared versus dealing with a person when you think that person doesn't like you or doesn't love you. So good for Katina. She goes on and she decides she's going to speak Olajuwon's love language. She's going to plan a movie night. She's going to do an acts of service. And you know what? When that man got home, he was happy. All Katina did was sprinkle some candy on top of some little paper plates and get some little pre-pop popcorn, and he was happy. So he obviously don't need a lot to really be pleased. So Katina, you got a lot to work with. He didn't make you go out and pop no fresh popcorn, and you didn't have to make no special homemade chocolate candies. You could go right up to the 99-cent store, pour out some hot tamales and some peanut M&Ms, and get you some of that stale popcorn in the 99-cent store, and he was happy. And he said, you know what? I love this because I ain't got to be special. I ain't got to sip no fancy champagne or no fancy wine, Katina, and we could just stay in like we like to, and you accept me. See there, Katina, you don't need to get no Dom Perignon. You ain't need to get no fancy wine. You don't need to get no gourmet popcorn. He is a simple man. 99-cent popcorn, jujubes, hot tamales, what else they sell? Some licorice. And you know what? You pop in a cheap old Netflix, turn on some cheap Netflix, and your man gonna be happy. So they end up having a little sex rendezvous thing with the sex kit they sent to the house. And Katina got to be in the dominatrix role. And Katina, you know what? Katina likes a leader man, because she said one time she was with a man who was more passive and she had to be the leader, and she said she didn't like it. It was a turnoff. So you know what? She actually likes a man like Olajuwon. She likes a strong leader, because when Olajuwon was rubbing on her and giving her that massage on her back, and she was like, pick me up, take me to the bedroom. I heard that, Katina. I love a man that can pick me up too. That's why I try to stay slim and trim, because you know what? I want my man to be able to pick me up. Katina wasn't like Noy. She said she knows how to do a body shot. She went and got her some Tito's vodka. She poured in a big old mug. I was like, Katina, what you doing with that big old coffee mug of Tito's? Where you about to put that? But she poured in Olajuwon's belly button. She took that body shot, and Olajuwon was like, oh, what my wife doing? Oh, she really want to get nasty down. I heard that, Olajuwon. Let's take this to the next level. Let's pump this up. So you know what, y'all? I'm not worried about these two. And the after party, which I'll do a video about, Olajuwon said this was a turning point in their marriage for both of them. I wouldn't be surprised if they had sex that night, but he talked about Katina opened up more. He understood what was really going on inside of him. He started understanding his correlation between cooking and cleaning to what was really about, which is acts of service. I think Katina got it. Katina can start doing more acts of service, because it's not only cooking and cleaning, it's acts of service in general. So as long as she does that, it ain't nothing wrong with trying to figure out your man's love language. When people say, I don't like Katina trying to woo Olajuwon, you know what? Wooing is the same thing of trying to figure out what your partner's love language is and hitting that mark every single time. Every married person has to do it, because when you spending your time over here doing something that you think is making your partner feel loved, but you're not getting no credit for it, you don't want to do that. You say, why am I wasting time doing stuff he don't even like? Let me figure out his love language. Let me hit that mark. Let me push that button every time. So every time I get a winner. And that's what Katina is honing in for. So I'm all here for this couple. Like I told you, I'm in it with these two, and I'm happy that Olajuwon and Katina are recovering from last week, because last week was a mess. Talk to you later, y'all. Bye.